to losing the die roll from this weekend.
And he's made it here, so clearly he has a way around having to go second. So the question here is, does Simon want to interact with the Dormouse, or is he the type of person that waits for something like Splash Mage later on in the turn?
Looks like he's considering. Asala did set that spell and trap card fast, so he might be trying to bluff that he has a trap, like, oh, it's an automatic that I would set this here. Does he actually have one of the traps? Oh, he does.
Oh, he sure
but
does.
Oh, it's not the right one, though. It's the one that summons from the
grave.
graveyard.
Yeah.
He has GWC 06 set. Okay, so Simon not taking the bait here. Asala not opening up with any of the Kashtira monsters, so he only has a Dormouse on the field, but if he does still have something like a Bestial monster in his hand, he could continue his plays here. Nope, it's just a pass. So where are you standing on that? Do you always go for the effect negation even if they have a set spell or trap?
Sort of depends on the rest of your hand. I think that's going to always be the answer to it. I think there are only 3 traps, and as you see here, only 2 of them can really be activated in response. The GWC 06 is not one that's particularly useful. So I think it's often correct to activate the Infinite Impermanence, although it definitely has the highest risk in the sense of if things go wrong, things go very wrong.
Especially if you have like another copy of Effect Negation in your hand if something were to go wrong. But it looks like Simon is starting off with Sword Ryzeal here, but Asala has the Effect Veiler. He's going to shut that down before it can get things going. Both players trying to control the pace of the game.
It's not the ideal opening play from Simon because, you know, for example, if he opened up with Ice Ryzeal, you would often just normal summon that one because its effect only resolves when it's normal summoned. So Sword is an indicator that his hand isn't necessarily the most ideal in terms of which Ryzeals he's opening up with.
Yeah, but I think Asala is picking up on that when he used that effect dealer, but we're just seeing a battle phase here out of Simon. He's going to take down that Dormouse. As you mentioned yesterday, Dormouse is kind of the gift that keeps on giving. You can't leave it on the field. It will be able to use the effect to special summon, or banish from the deck on the next turn, which essentially will special summon a monster. So you definitely want to take care of that as well as you can. Now Simon considering his next move in main phase 2. We see plenty of effect negation. He's going to set a spell or trap card and pass. And at the end phase, Asala is going to use that GWC 06 to special summon back Dormouse. Now you normally see them banishing Malice monsters, but you only have to do that if it was the turn it was set to activate the card.
Yep, so now we'll see that special summoned out to the field.
And Asala draws for his turn. He's going to start things off by activating Dormouse effect to attempt to banish from the deck. Doesn't set anything in his spell and trap card to try and bluff.
I think he kind of played that bluff a couple turns ago, and it didn't work out. So I don't say there's no point in doing it, but it's not as advantageous as it may have been. I think if Simon had an effect negation 2 turns ago, he would just do it again here.
Yeah, definitely agree with that sentiment. And there is the effect veiler coming down on the Dormouse, but Asala draws Gold Sarcophagus for the turn. Former prize card, now a fantastic card to include in the Malice deck. So if you're not familiar with the Malice strategy, they all have 3 main deck monsters and 3 Link 3 monsters in the extra deck, but they all share the same effect that if they're banished, you can pay a certain amount of life points to special summon them back to the field. So Gold Sarcophagus kind of works like an emergency teleport in the deck.
Yep, and now we see a copy of Malice White Rabbit banished. You'll now pay 300 life points and special summon it out to the field. White Rabbit has an effect that only activates when it is special summoned, which will allow him now to set one of the 3 Malice traps from his deck face down. Fortunately here, it's going to be met by a copy of Ghost Ogre.
And I think there's going to be a chain here on top of that. Yeah, Ghost Ogre, chain, infinite impermanence. He wants to make sure he doesn't have 2 monsters on the field, as you keep mentioning. Splash Mage is a strong link too, but he's not going to be able to go into Splash Mage here, but he will be able to go into the Haggard Blizzard dose.
Yep, and now he's going to be able to banish the Dormouse that he has in his graveyard. He already activated the White Rabbit's ability to special summon from the graveyard. So now he's going to banish the Dormouse. It is a cost, so even if this was met by another type of effect negation, it would still resolve. The Dormouse now is special summoned to the field by paying 300 life points. And now Asala's probably feeling pretty good here.
I mean, this is where Malice is strong. Like, if you're able just to stick those 2 monsters on the field, you can really get into your stronger Malice Link 3 monsters from the extra deck, thanks to Haggard Lizard Dose and Splash Mage. So that's why you see Asala capitalizing on that with the Bestials and the Kashtira monsters deck, even though we haven't seen them quite just yet.
So now we have a copy of Malice Red Ransom. Malice Red Ransom is one of the 3 brand new Link 3 monsters that this strategy has. It allows him to search his deck for a Malice spell card, which is going to be the field spell Malice and Underground. It has an additional effect that when it is banished, he can special summon it back to the field, and then banish a Cyberus from his deck, which is typically in this strategy a copy of Dotscaper, which allows him to then continue his link plays.
Let's see what Asala elects to do next. Will he activate the Malice in Underground to banish a Malice monster from his deck? Simon double checking all the effects of Red Ransom, and here comes Malice in Underground.
So Chessy Cat is the only one that we've yet to banish this turn and special summon back, so presumably that's what he'll be banishing. That'll get all 3 of the Malice monsters into rotation. Chessy Cat is the copy of the Malice card that you typically only see 1 or 2 copies in the deck. It is a Malice card that requires another Malice card in order to really do anything. It in and of itself, unlike Dormouse and White Rabbit, doesn't necessarily get your plays going. Requires you to banish a Malice card from your hand to draw 2.
Yeah, it's kind of like a built-in Allure of Darkness effect. But you see the Link summon coming down for Access Code Talker. Asala trying to clean up this game quickly. This is the Wombo combo here for Malice. Going to have a 5300 Access Code Talker, can banish the Malice Red Ransom to destroy the Sword Ryzeal. And then since it was banished, it can special summon back to the field. And this is over 8,000 points of damage already, staring a Simon down. Let's see, he's going to do the math. Does he have anything? He could have something like another effect negation, like Effect Veiler potentially, to remove that attack boost from Access Code Talker.
I think he might have a Ghost Ogre in hand if I recall seeing his hand earlier. Not positive.
Because he did use the Dormouse effect got negated this turn, but yeah, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
It is. I was like, I don't know why Simon's not scooping unless there's something.
It's like Perulia.
Perulia.
Beautiful Quarter Century Secret Rare. At least for Simon here, that Perulia is going to be pretty detrimental to his strategy. He does have a copy of Lancia, though. If he only wants to make, what often is called a half board, meaning when you limit your plays to reduce the number of draws your opponent gets, having Lancia as a backup for Asala's first turn, definitely one of the things you would hope for. Here, this copy of Bonfire, I imagine, is going to allow him to search out a copy of Ice.
And just to note, this is, you see Asala has that first game win. He does have 8,000 life points still as well. And Bonfire added one of the Ryzeal monsters. Looked like it was Ice. Now Ice Ryzeal is going to be summoned, which will give Asala a draw.
And now he's going to special summon out a Ryzeal from his deck. It's probably going to be a copy of Sword. Now Sword is going to let him search his deck now for X Ryzeal. The question here, is he going to continue to special summon? He certainly might. But he may elect to make a little bit more of a conservative play, or at least open up his next play with that Pot of Desires he has in hand.
Yeah, he already has the artifact Lancia as well. I think we might be looking at that half board, as you mentioned. Not putting as much out as he possibly could, but putting just enough to be disruptive, but still be able to ride the waves of that artifact Lancia from the hand. But yeah, here comes that Pot of Desires. Love how that card's back into the fold.
Yeah, Pot of Desires is really a fantastic card. It does a good job in what people often consider sort of those mid-range strategies, those strategies that really like to play a lot of hand interactions, but have an engine that is pretty formidable. It looks like he banished almost all of his crossout designators. Not that that's necessarily a pivotal piece to his strategy per se, but it's interesting to note. Well, Called by the Grave.
Not a terrible draw. All right. We do see the two monsters being overlaid here to become Xyz materials. To Xyz summon Ryzeal Detonator.
Yeah, right into Detonator. That's what I mean by half board. He didn't go here into Duo Drive because Duo Drive would sort of necessitate him to play through another potential hand interaction, but also potentially need to special summon further in order to get another Xyz monster on the field.
Yeah, sometimes even giving them one more card can really be the big difference. So you want to give them as little as possible, but this time Asala summoning Kashtira Unicorn with a sense of urgency. See if he's going to use the effect here. It looks like he is, and Simon has no response. Kashtira Birth is going to be added from the deck to the hand.
Salah's pondering out this next play.
Activates Kashtira Birth. All right, no detonator yet here from Simon. Holding on to those materials. Doesn't want to play into something like Triple Tactics Talent potentially before he has to.
I also think he's going to be extra conservative because there's only 2 materials, as opposed to oftentimes you see 3 with the aggregator and then even sometimes a plug-in in addition to that. Sometimes detonators anywhere from 3 to 5 interactions. Here, it really is only those 2.
True, and using the detonator on a unicorn, not too great since it can bring back with Birth. But he's going to use that Birth to normal summon Kashtira Fenrir, so we're not going to see the normal summon of a Maliss monster this turn. I mean, if you look close enough, you just think maybe he's playing Kashtira.
Yeah, and that Lancia in his hand might actually be pretty good.
Oh, yeah, if he goes to battle phase here, he's going to use Kashtira Fenrir's effect to try and add another Kashtira monster from his deck to the hand. Simon deep in the think take on this one. Nope, he lets it go.
So he's only playing 1 copy of Fenrir, so he actually naturally drew both Fenrir and Unicorn, which again in his, Maliss splashing Kashtira strategy, a lot of Kashtira monsters. He's going to now search out his 2nd copy of Kashtira Unicorn, and that's the entirety of his Kashtira package. He has no more Kashtira monsters in his deck.
Now I'm interested to see if Simon's hand goes back to his face. It does. See, watching body language, that's one of the ones I always look for, is hand on the face. Because sometimes when you're deep in thought or have heavy emotions, like it's a psychological thing, but your head actually feels heavy, where you subconsciously feel the need to hold it up with your hand. I don't know if it's just something crazy that I've noticed throughout the years, but anytime I've noticed the hand of the face, I feel like they're giving away some information there. But it could be false reads that Simon's trying to give off at the same time.
He does have Lancia in his hand, which if you were to rank the cards that you'd want to draw,
that would be top.
That would be towards the top. See here, we actually see the Fenrir attack into the detonator, and we might see that artifact Lancia.
It could be the bait. Simon is a skilled duelist.
The first question is, does he want to activate detonator effect? And then from there, does he want to chain the Lancia? Hitting Birth seems like a pretty reasonable thing to do.
And then chain the Lancia? Well, he wants to chain the Lancia to the Fenrir effect, I guess. Oh, Forbidden Droplet. Ooh. He's going to send the Unicorn from his hand.
Now he can't chain the Lancia unless there's a spell somewhere set. It's a call by the grave. I think you just have to call by the grave. So that you can then chain your Lancia.
He'll still be able to use Lancia in the next, like in an open game state window, I think.
No, but I believe he attacked with the Fenrir.
Yeah.
But that would mean that the detonator gets banished.
I don't think he's activated Fenrir's effect yet.
I was under the impression he attacked with the Fenrir, activated Fenrir effect, that then prompted the detonator effect to then target the Kashtira Birth.
That could be
He then
the
responded
case.
with Droplet on the detonator.
That could be the case. That is what happened. You're right. Oh, devastating there.
So everything remains on field, and the Lancia just remains in hand. And now in a separate chain, he's going to be able to activate the effective Unicorn, his detonator activated in the previous.
That was a huge Forbidden Droplet.
I think I would have considered just chaining the called by, and then chaining to add a spell to the chain link, and then activating the Lancia in response to the call by the grave.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's 100% what he should have done in this situation.
I
think unless he just wants to hold the Lancia, maybe he realizes he doesn't need the Lancia this turn, and he wants to save it for the next turn even. I think that could be potentially what Simon's thinking.
Yeah, I guess it's tough. That would then require that he use, because the Droplet would still resolve.
Mm-hmm. Because he's not even using the called by here on the Unicorn coming back from the Kashtira.
Yeah.
Oh, because he can summon from the Banished.
The Droplet's still going to negate the detonator, so it's not like he'd be able to either protect with the detonator or get the resolution of the destruction. So maybe he's just saying, this detonator's not all that valuable anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, the more you think about it, I think you're right. He did have the counterplay, but it probably wasn't worth it.
Yep, he's only playing against these Kashtira monsters. We don't see any Maliss and Underground. But Maliss and Underground would have been a key card for us all to play in main phase 2.
Yeah, now that I think about that chain a little bit more, that Forbidden Droplet shutting off detonator entirely probably makes sense to hold the Lancia, because if he is able to get through this field, having that Lancia for the following turn would be huge.
Definitely. Now it's going to come down to what Asala has in his hand in terms of interaction, because just having the 2 Unicorns in Fenrir not going to be enough to stop Ryzeal. As you see, he just starts with X, which doesn't activate an effect, just special summons kind of like Cyber Dragon and sends that aggregator to the graveyard, which is going to negate the Fenrir for the rest of the turn.
Which is actually huge because if it did activate, Fenrir would be activating his Chainlink 2 to the aggregator as Chainlink 1. But because aggregator is actually just the first card that starts a chain in this turn, like Fenrir is going to get negated before it's able to activate its effect in a separate window, a separate Chainlink.
Definitely huge that is the way that X Ryzeal works. Simon looking through the extra deck, contemplating his next step. I see a Node Ryzeal in his hand.
Yeah, he can summon that node from his hand. He has a Ryzeal or an Exceed monster in the graveyard. Instead, he's going to elect to normal summon, looks like a copy of Ice, which would then allow him to search his deck for another Ryzeal monster. Doesn't look like he has a whole ton of them left after that Pot of Desires, but hopefully enough for his purposes, or at least this turn. I think this is going to be a pretty pivotal turn.
Yeah, I mean, Sal's going to need something like Nibiru the Primal Being to really be okay. And even then, I don't know if that's going to be quite enough. So we're at 1, 2, 3. This will be summon number 4.
Yep. This deck has the ability of putting up Detonator at 4 summons, which is something that we've seen quite frequently this weekend. So here we see Duo Drive. It can only place a Ryzeal monster as an Exceed material. So that's why he didn't put the aggregator underneath.
Yep, you see a Solid try to use Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring on this Duo Drive, but Simon has the Called by the Grave that he got off that Pot of Desires on the previous turn. So he's going to be able to resolve and add 2 Ryzeal cards from his deck to his hand. He's going for Plasma Hole and Ryzeal Plugin.
So he gets a point of interaction on the opponent's turn, the ability to conduct an Exceed summon on the opponent's turn, and a little bit of a extender on his turn if necessary, or another point of interaction on Sala's turn.
Now, let's see. How many detonators do we have? 2? Yeah, he might not have a detonator in his extra deck if a Unicorn banished one.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So it might be a little harder for Simon to figure out what he wants to do. But he has plenty of other options in his extra deck.
Oh, yeah, they're both banished face down. One from the Fenrir, one from the Unicorn.
Well, to see, this is exciting. I don't know what he's going to be able to navigate this, but he's not really facing down any Malice cards or any interruptions potentially, so it should still be okay for him.
You know, if there was one in the grave, he has Cross, which could recycle it, but as you just mentioned, yeah, they're banished, and not just banished face down.
Simon running some calculations back to check the extra deck. This is a tough spot for him. And like, this is his tournament life on the line. This could be the last game of his tournament if he loses to a Solid here. So he definitely wants to give it all he got.
And this is one of those situations where, you know, you can plan it before the event and say, okay, if I get hit by Drone Lockbird and I get hit by this Moltrami here and I get hit by this combination here, what should I do? What's the decision points? This is one of those where you're mid-game, a lot of your deck is missing because of Pot of Desires, and you're out of your key extra deck monster. So how can you use that toolbox in your extra deck now to navigate through this without just defaulting to Detonator, which a lot of the times this strategy is going to do. And we see here the Light Dragon at Ignister. Sal's going to give it a quick read. It essentially is just a piece of removal.
Yep, it's going to be able to destroy a face-up card. It has other effects, but they're more tied into the Ad Ignister strategy. Modern day Castell.
Yeah. Which we actually, well, didn't see on stream, but heard players using this weekend, as you mentioned yesterday.
He is a winged beast.
It's really amazing watching this and just seeing the strength of the Kashtira monsters, because, as you mentioned, it would seem like Sala brought a Kashtira deck to the tournament this weekend, at least a solely Kashtira deck, because this is the type of board that we would see sometimes in those games where our Ryzeal was banned, or maybe there was when our Ryzeal was limited, where the Kashtira monsters themselves just put in so much work with those huge bodies. So we see here one activation from the Light Dragon Ad Ignister to deal with the Kashtira Unicorn. Still has to deal with that Fenrir and Unicorn. Duo Drive is boosting his monsters by 100, which could potentially help some of the math. and also reducing the Kashtira monsters on the Sala side as well.
He's definitely going to be able to make at least another rank 4.
You can see Simon checking some of the more nuanced Exceed monsters in his extra deck, the ones that he's probably only summoned once or twice this weekend. As he's trying to figure out exactly how to navigate this turn.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I mean, if I was Simon, I'd be trying to find a way to get into his Zeus with a couple materials, but it looks like he's going to discard a spell card from his hand to Exceed summon full armored Utopic Ray Lancer. This can attack twice.
Yeah, it also drops the attack of the opponent's monsters by 500, and it would stop their effects in the battle phase as well.
Yep, and this
It's got a lot of different effects.
So it does look like he might be, I guess he won't be able to go into Zeus. He is locked into rank 4s. It's tough.
And there's the Nibiru that you feared earlier in the turn.
Nibiru, the primal being, Asala actually had it. Sometimes lucky for Asala. Usually not, but in this case, he got lucky. Sorry, Asala.
I mean, if he's going to draw a hand, I mean, let's be real. He didn't draw any Maliss cards, so what else could he possibly have in his hand?
So 5,000.
And this game's not over. Just because this Nibiru is coming down, it's going to be a huge token. Probably one of the bigger ones we've seen on stream.
And I love the fact that he still has that Kashtira Birth on field.
So he can
Which means on the following turn, one of these Kashtira monsters are going to hit the field right away with that Nibiru. This illustrates the power of the Kashtira cards.
Yeah, and he's still going to have to deal with that Artifact Lancia that's in Simon's hand, so this giant token could really come into play. The stats are huge. Pretty sure both sides might be over 10,000.
Do you have a token? Just one card.
Now, not much in Simon's hand though. Solid knows he has, yeah. Solid knows the plug-in and the plasma hole. That was a huge Nibiru, huge. Sala really trying not to go to a game 3 if he can avoid it at all costs. But Simon's resources are just getting depleted.
I think he's okay setting the Plasma Hole and the plug-in. He's actually in okay shape.
With the Lancia in hand as well?
Yeah.
Oh, he has Ghost Ogre for Birth. That's huge. That's a big step.
So he may have actually drawn Dormouse.
Sala might lose to this token.
Token of his own creation.
Here comes the Dormouse, going to use the effect.
Oh, no, I'm on the...
It looks like Simon might be thinking on the summon of Maliss Dormouse.
Yeah, he'd activate the plug-in.
And he's going to use the Lancia here in response to Dormouse. So no cards will be able to be banished for the remainder of this turn. Solid looking in his extra deck. The Link 2 going into Haggard Lizardos doesn't really work well into Artifact Lancia. Does he play any other... He could go into Link Rebo into SP Little Knight to deal with the token maybe? As he moves the Dormouse to the extra monster zone, this is what he meant. Yeah, I think he's probably going to go Link Rebo into SP Little Knight.
Can you use that under Lancia? On
Nope,
a token?
it won't banish the token, but at
you
least
just go into it? Yeah.
I mean, it's something. But yeah, the token's still going to end him. Yeah, this is tough.
Yeah, Sala has these alternative pathways when you don't have 2 Malice monsters with cards like Haggard Lizardoise and SP Little Knight that can actually banish a singleton Malice from your graveyard. But underneath the Lancia, I'm not sure what his pathway will be because both of his monsters are different types. You know, if they were both Cypress monsters, it'd be a little bit of a different story. Plus, this plugin is going to put Duo Drive back on the field. It's going to now allow him to equip multiple cards to it, and then he's going to have that Plasma Hole.
Yep, the plugin lets him attach material from the deck or graveyard, I believe. And then Duo Drive effect on summon can attach a material. Has to be a Ryzeal material for Duo Drive. It can be anything for Detonator.
Yeah, lets him equip from deck. So he's going to have plenty of, well, presumably have plenty of options there.
Yep.
It looks like you just used the Duo Drive to attach from the graveyard.
Yep, the Duo Drive, it's whenever it's special summoned, which means it does have this interaction here. The Detonator and duo drive, those additional equips that those additional materials that you get are pivotal in terms of grinding out some of the games like this where you need every last resource. So it's important to note exactly how to utilize those cards.
Looks like Asala might be considering using Ling Karibo on this plasma hull.
I mean, if he doesn't negate it, then he can just destroy the Lingaribo. So it's kind of one of those, do you just limit Simon's ability to make the choice, or do you make the choice for him?
Yep, gonna negate it. Makes a lot of sense. But he still have to deal with this Nibiru token. All that's left is this giant token. And he's just going to have to pass it. I'm pretty sure it has to have over 10,000 attack. Yeah, it's going to be enough to attack over Nibiru for 8,000 points.
Yep.
We've made it to the main phase. Asala sets one spell and trap, starts a Dormouse, activates the effect. Does Simon have a response? Looks like he's eyeing an effect Veiler.
He used it in the first game. This time, though, he's combined it with Nibiru, but he has both Effect Veiler and Infinite Impermanence. Usually that's one of the best 1-2 combos of hand interactions you can ask for.
Definitely plenty of interactions on Simon's side of things. Thinking long and hard about this decision.
It's one of those things where if this Effect Veiler resolves, it could just end Asala's turn.
But he has two effect negations besides to hold both. Maybe he wants to hit him on key points in the turn, looking maybe I don't know. How's this going to work out for him? Maybe he only wants to use the Veiler on this turn to save the Imperm for his own turn.
The risk is that this is going to set us all up for future turns. That's what I'm saying. If you just Imperm and it actually resolves,
yeah, you're in there.
You're good.
Yeah. All right, so he's going to set TB11. That's the one that lets you special summon a Malice monster from the deck. And if you're not familiar with Malice cards, the traps can be activated the turn they're set. Oh, that's Mulcharmy Fualos coming down.
Looks like Asala may have a response. No.
Is
he
it
cycled
Ash
through
Blossom?
cards. And okay,
It's
it is
Ash
an Ash
Blossom.
Blossom.
Simon's not happy about seeing that. So now, Simon doesn't have any Ryzeal cards in his hand.
He has 4 non-engine.
Oh, man. See, I don't know. That's probably why he didn't affect Veiler the Dormouse. Because even if he stops it and Asala passes, he doesn't have a way to deal with the Dormouse. So he needed to rely on drawing the cards off Fualos.
Yeah, he needs this Nibiru here to do everything.
Part of his deck to be Pot of Desires. So he's going to go into that Haggard Lizardos. This basically just lets you banish a card from the graveyard or field.
I mean, you could banish itself if you ever needed to draw.
Yeah, and if it banishes a reptile, yeah, you get to draw a card, and it is a reptile.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
In this case, it's basically just serving as a way of going from Link 2 to Link 3. So he pays 300 life points. One thing to note, and I think we commented on this yesterday, although this is a strategy that is going to pay life, it also has the ability to very quickly gain life back. So although you might be looking at the time and thinking, well, is Malice able to win under these conditions? Yeah, absolutely they are. GWC06 allows you to gain life points if you control a Malice Link monster when it's been activated.
No, we kind of like just glossed over this. I think he had to use one of the effect negations on the White Rabbit, because at that point, once the White Rabbit resolves, they're guaranteed to have a trap set that they can dodge those effect negations later on in the turn. But
it's going to be one of those things where now you're no longer using it on Malice monsters.
True.
Yes, if you let the White Rabbit resolve, you have conceded that you're not going to activate it on any of those cards. You're going to try and do it on something else along the way. I don't know if that's necessarily the path that you should be taking, but it is something to note for those players at home that once you allow White Rabbit to resolve, one of these Malice traps gets set automatically, and then your Effect Veilers, your Infinite Impermanences, they're not going to line up as well as you want.
Now, the way to play around Nibiru with the Malice strategy is to always have like a trap set with the Link 3. That way when you get Nibiru, you can chain the trap, banish your Link 3 off, and then it comes back afterwards, and then you can go into something like Splash Mage because you turn the Nibiru token into a Link Spider. But now that Asala's committed this trap, the Nibiru might be a lot more impactful than it would have been had he not had used the trap yet. But we still don't know if that original Speller trap is a Malice trap as well. But since the Red Ransom already used the effect of supposed to summon back, it's not going to be able to play around Nibiru like it would have been.
And we're down to 6,500 points of life.
That's genuinely one of the reasons why I'm attracted to the Malice deck, is because they are a lot of what plays around Nibiru is by just summoning a monster effect negate before 5 summons. this deck can use their spells and traps to effectively dodge it. Maybe Asala has something like Malice and Underground in his hand. That's another way to play around Nibiru, so that's why he decided to go ahead and let the trap rip right off the bat. And now here comes Nibiru, going to tribute off all those monsters, turn into a Nibiru token. Now, does Asala have Malice and Underground in the hand?
Well, he had the Red Ransom hit the field. And now he's going to turn the token into Link Spider, play the Malice in Underground. It's going to allow him now to banish.
Banishes the Chessy Cat.
Yep.
Chessy Cat special summons back. So now he has the 2 Cybers monsters. Yeah, he just grabbed the wrong monster. He went to banish the Chessy Cat. Looks like Simon might not have understood that. He just Chessy Cat was underneath the Malice Link monster, so he was moving out of the way so he could banish the Chessy Cat.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't hear their player audio, so it really depends what he said. If he said, I'm going to banish Red Ransom, then that would not be good. But if he said, I'm banishing the Chessy Cat, that would dictate where his play was going.
Chessy Cat is obviously the card that you're going to be banishing.
And Miracle coming up, I understand that was an action because
Yeah.
Looks like they are talking to the judges to see how this is going to play out.
He already used the once return effect and he was going to do the treasure.
I'm trying to, we can kind of hear
In
the
my
judge
opinion,
like,
regardless of the time, it's he plays his own responsibilities and everything. Like no one's pressuring him to move fast. He did this and then he tried to move it back. It's not like it.
yeah, we're just kind of listening in on the
I
player
follow the
audio.
policies that he
Simon
wants
knows
to,
that
but
the
they
only
can
way
actually
he can win
can't
is
move it
if
back.
this Red Ransom is banished instead of the Chessy Cat, so he's really trying to hammer that home here, unfortunately.
If you would like to register, please do so at events.decidetech.com. This is the last call.
So as these players are kind of settling this with the judges, let's go back to talk about Nibiru. You mentioned how you really like the Malice strategy because you think it can play around Nibiru. I think Asala's here just about to show us that even if Nibiru is hit on a somewhat full field, there are plays afterwards with that Link Spider going over the token.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of ways to get 2 Cyber sponsors onto the field post Nibiru. Then you can go into Splash Mage, which gets you into a Malice Link 3 like Malice Whitebinder.
Do you think that's when, though, the Effect Veiler could come into play? Or a card like, I mean,
Oh, on
Infinite
Splash
Impermanence.
Mage here, yeah,
'cause-
potentially.
So that's something that's worth noting. It's almost like you need to activate the Infinite Impermanence early in the turn if you have Infinite Impermanence Veiler and Nibiru. And then post Nibiru, now the Splash Mage can be hit with the Effect Veiler. So, you know, we're talking about if you don't activate an Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence early, the Malice deck is going to get access to the trap cards. Well, if you navigate the turn correctly, one of the things you need to note is you don't want to be locked with that Nibiru with Infinite. Jump back in with a flip of the set Triple Tactics Thrust. So that was a thrust the whole time. It wasn't one of those trap cards. But we do see that Red Ransom is banished.
Yep.
The
Because
Chessy
he did
Cat is
declare
still in the graveyard.
So even though he was just moving it out of the way, since he didn't verbally say anything, that's going to be the play he has to commit to, unfortunately.
I wonder if he has any. I guess he has Gold Sarcophagus if he hasn't activated it, but he doesn't play a second Chessy Cat.
Yeah, it looks like he's taking some time to consider what to grab. A Triple Tactics Thrust. Hopefully not rattled at all. Can keep his composure. Looks like he's thinking about just setting a Malice Trap. Yep, he's going to set GWC06. That lets him summon back a Malice from the graveyard.
Or his banishment, and it would theoretically allow him to summon back his Red Ransom to gain a little bit of life points. He is down to 6,500, and there's only 4 minutes remaining in the clock. So this is actually a way that he'll be able to gain life points. Which means Simon is going to need to play through this turn pretty swiftly.
It should be a quick turn for Simon because he has no plays really. So if he takes any time here, why is he reading a card that's banished when he has no plays?
Well, that Red Ransom is going to be special summoned this turn.
I'm going to go exit.
Yeah, just pass. He has no plays. Or he's going to battle phase maybe? Yeah, battle phase attack over Link Spider. It's going to do some damage. But there's no play here. So any hesitation here from Simon won't be good for him. He really wants to avoid getting a slow play warning, potentially. I would start, if I was Asala, I'd start counting Mississippis. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Sets a card to his back row, sets another one. Ends turn, pass back to Asala. End phase, GWC is going to special summon out Red Ransom.
So he's going to gain life points back, 2,300 life points.
25.
All right, so he has 3 minutes to play through a crossout designator and infinite impermanence, and I think 2 copies of Effect Valor in hand. So there's a lot there.
You know, this is some. Ryzeal's just. If you can't draw any Ryzeal monsters, it's tough. I mean, without 7th Tachyon, which you'll be able to get your hands on in Maze of the Master in a couple months, the deck's consistency just isn't as strong as it could be. But definitely keep your eye out for Maze of the Master if you are a Ryzeal fan. I'm really excited about that set. What is
So we see
Simon?
White Rabbit.
Simon checking the graveyard, reading the same card for a second time.
That is okay.
He was deciding whether or not he wanted to respond to the effect of White Rabbit. There's only 1 trap left in
I have interruption.
Asala's deck.
It looks like the judge is going to be giving Simon a slow play warning here because he did check the graveyard, read the same card over and over again. That can get you an easy slow play warning here from the judges.
That's fine.
It looks like he was going to try and argue it, but chose to not.
To his
You
defense.
should never argue with the judges.
Yeah, that is definitely true. To his defense, you may know the main effect of most of the Malice Trap cards, seeing as how they were just released. They do have secondary effects. For example, the one that is left, the MTP07, will allow him to banish 1 card on the field if it's activated and you control a Malice Link monster, which he does.
Yeah, it's just interesting that Simon hasn't read any of the cards in the game up until this point. Now he's reading all of them. But
Well, this
it's
one
good
was
that-
released a couple days ago.
You're right. It's good to know.
I think it's the secondary effects of a lot of these cards that are often the ones overlooked because they're not the ones that come up sort of quote unquote in the combos that you're learning prior to the event.
Very true.
So Salah's here. I think he's deciding whether he wants to go into something like Access Go Talker.
You can see Asala probably just a little rattled from the slight misstep on the previous turn, but now he is going to link away those 2 monsters.
Anyone that's ever played a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has made a mistake in their career, so it's really important to be able to shake it off because you know the objective isn't necessarily to play every game flawlessly. You don't get bonus points.
Yeah, exactly.
Play as best as you possibly can. If you happen to make a mistake,
Got to keep on going. Looking forward. So the Access Go Talker is going to be summoned after its effect resolves. It's going to be met by infinite impermanence to go back down to 2,300. So Saul's going to need something here to deal with that Nibiru, the primal being.
I don't know any cards in hand, but I only know that card. Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
it's only 30 seconds left here for Asala.
I think they may have given a slow play warning to Simon, so there may be 3 more minutes, potentially.
So Asala, again, like I mentioned a moment ago, if he banishes a Malice monster and gets it back onto the field, that MTP07 is a way for him to deal with this Nibiru.
Because he can still pay the cost with Access Go Talker. Potentially. Oh, did you activate another copy of Malice and Underground?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going to banish. Saul's also needs to play a little bit quicker. He doesn't want to get a slow play warning.
3 minutes already.
All right, so it looks like I'm hearing here that they have
It
only
looks like
3
he
minutes
might be.
remaining.
The judges are telling him to pick up the pace a little bit. Both players need to play just a little bit faster. He's going to banish the Dormouse, then summon the Dormouse. He's going to use the effect of Dormouse.
That one's the banished add, right? And then
He's going to read it again.
Again, do you have a response?
They all banish to activate with the turn they're set.
something.
That is the one that does allow him to destroy if he controls a Link monster.
A link, yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to be met by effect Valor.
banish, not destroy, but nevertheless, it is important to know. So now the Dormouse has been negated. Yeah, he is going to still pay the cost, as you mentioned here. It's going to allow him now to summon Red Ransom by paying 600. It's now going to allow him to banish a Cybers from his deck. We've already gone through Dotscaper, so we're probably now going to go into White Rabbit, which is the last one that needs to hit the field.
Yeah.
that's another 300.
And then as well. I think that's
What? So that's what?
on some. Actually, I missed. Don't worry about it.
What is Asala's next move here?
He already searched the underworld this turn, so he can't search that spell. Looking at his field here, I think he's in good shape. It's just a matter of can he navigate it in time.
If he can get out of his own head and continue the game, that's what he needs to do right now. Not let the pressure overcome him. This is going to be the last game of our 10th round of Swiss here at YCS Anaheim.
Yeah, now he has the link on field, so now if he banishes the Dormouse, it's going to allow him to search his deck for a Malice.
And then since he has the Malice Link on the field, he can get rid of the Nibiru and potentially go for some damage here.
Yep, the Nibiru is now banished, non-targeting. Yep, now a huge chunk of life points. This now flips the life point advantage back in Asala's favor. And we know that Simon has entirely non-engine and has had non-engine the entirety of this game. So his next play needs to be Pot of Desires into 2 engine cards, because he has to deal with now a lot of different layers of interaction.
Yeah, he has not been in good shape at any point in this game. He's still going to need a top deck to get out of this.
I mean, honestly, we're probably now going to see Firewall Dragon, Dark Fluid,
29.
which is going to establish the Cyberverse D-Save Worm. So I don't even think Pot of Desires is going to be enough.
All right, so we're going to link away the White Rabbit for Link Decoder. Link Decoder. All the monsters are going to be sent to the graveyard for... You called it. Oh no, it's going to go into White Binder.
Yeah, if you haven't used White Binder yet, there's no reason not to.
Yep. And since it has 2300 attack, the Link Decoder is going to special summon itself back from the graveyard to the field. White Binder is going to be negated by Effect Dealer. It banishes 3 cards, but Simon realizes it's game. He never drew a single Ryzeal card